Well, hi! I'm so excited. This is going to be the first video that you guys will hear, and it's all about how to set up your interactive notebook. Each of you will have been given a notebook, and probably at the beginning of year, you don't have your name on it yet. You just have a post-it note that you're supposed to put your name on. If you'll give me a second, I'm going to show you. This is my notebook from last year. It sees I have my name on it, and I have earned badges, and so I have things all over the back of it. And this is what it's going to look like after, halfway through the year or so, and it's going to be filled with all kinds of wonderful pages and foldables and all kinds of things that will help you throughout the year. But you get to make your own. And when we first begin, we're going to put some basic things that will really help you throughout the year, just some good resources. So on the first page, you will do your All About Me page, but you should go ahead and put number 1, numbering the corner. Then on your second page, the back of the first page, because we do not skip pages, we're going to put our guidelines. So before we begin, make sure you have all of the following. You have a guidelines contract, and you have signed it. You should also have your table of content pages. You should have one that's already started to be filled out, and then you should have 2 additional pages that you will also put into your notebook. Next, you're going to have a little slip of a number line that you've cut out. You're going to have a multiplication chart, and I have one that's a 15 by a 15. You may have one where the edges are shaded in, and I do believe that that one has mistakes in it, so that will be fun trying to find those few errors that will need to be corrected. Then you should have a page that says rational numbers. Oh, my bad, that's not right. You don't need that page. You need the page that has a fractions and all kinds of busy stuff on the back. And you're going to have this little slip here, and your colors may be different than mine. Your fraction page might be green or yellow, and this is going to be your decimal page, and I believe yours is going to be a bright yellow. Mine's kind of an orange yellow. And I have a old handwritten one that has these 4 boxes. Yours is going to be nice and typed up with no handwriting, and it should be a little bit smaller. But you should have all those things before we begin. You should also have a pair of scissors and, this makes me nervous, a bottle of glue. Your glue, please, I have yet to meet a new 7th grader that knew how to use a bottle of glue. Less is more, folks. Less is more, and we'll talk about that. So the first thing is you should have already signed your guidelines page, and I also need to sign mine. Very good. And then when you're done, you're going to trim it out. Almost every single thing I give you, you're going to need to trim a margin all around it so that it will fit neatly into your table of contents. See, that's not even enough. I need to trim even a little bit more. I'm very careful when I make copies to be sure that I make them to where they will fit into your notebook. Then, here we go. First thing we're going to glue. You need just a smear, not even a dot, just a smear on the corners. You don't need to cover the back. Then, fit it in. I need to go right side up into your notebook. This is your agreement that I will write neat and legibly, that I'll create a cover page, I'll have a table of contents, I'll continue to number my pages, that I will make sure there is a date and a title on each page. I am a little bit lazy about enforcing the date, but the title is important. And to copy everything that I write so that my notebook at the end of the year is nice and neat. I like to use color, but I use a pencil so that I can erase my work. And then here's all the reasons why. The next thing I need to put into my notebook is my table of contents. Now, notice how this has a title as here, so I didn't have to retitle those things. So, most things I can only cut and trim one at a time, but I'm lucky. Here, if I just trim across the bottom and up the sides on all 3 pages, I can fit them all in. So I'm going to glue them into pages 3, 4, and 5. Again, I need to be very careful with my gluing and only tag the corners. I don't even need a bubble drop like a bead. I just need a smear, and it works wonderfully. Be sure the first one you put in is the table of contents that starts with page 1 and goes through 12. Then on page 4 and 5, it doesn't really matter because they look the same. Again, a smear in each corner is all that I need. This should give us plenty of space to fit all of our notes. So far, I've not had a year where we've needed more than 3 pages. And do not skip. As you can see, when you write, if you don't skip until you're changing units, then the 3 pages should be plentiful. The next is the first time that you have to be kind of careful, because we're going to put more than one thing on here. And it's really important that you space it. Now this one fits easily. If your times table is too big, turn it sideways. That won't be a problem at all. I'm lucky. I've been able to trim mine down where it fits exactly in there. And I like to leave a little bit of space around my number line, because if I'm counting on my number line, I want to be able to make the motions. If you're like me, you might want to cover your number line with tape. That way, if I mark on it, I can erase, but it's really important that I be able to move up and down that number line, understanding my positives are black and my reds are negative. Now, this is the page that you're going to need to slow down on, because I have to fit 2 foldables on this page. I'm going to fit my fractions foldable, and I'm going to fit my decimals foldable. Okay? And when you cut your fractions foldable, I don't know if you can see this, but it's not lined up exactly evenly. So you have to be sure, like, I don't know if you can see that, but right here, I need to cut all the way down to here so that I don't cut off what I'm writing. I find it works best if I flip it and I cut from this side. It may not be as pretty on the other side, but I can plenty see what needs to be done. So cutting this side, making sure that I include all the information, is much more important than making sure that my doors are straight. Now, I'm not going to glue anything yet when it comes to this page, because what's going to be important is fit. So I'm going to fold this in, and you're going to see how much space this takes. It takes up quite a bit of space. So I'm going to open this, but it's important that I open the doors in such a way that I separate my subtraction notes and my division notes, even though this line is a little bit misleading. So I'm going to open it up to cut the flaps. Just carefully cut in between the 2 informations. Now, when I put it in there, if I come down here, I won't have enough room to put my decimals foldable. So I'm going to push this all the way to the top. But I'm going to be clever, because I can still fit my title if I put my title along the side. That way I can fit both foldables and still have a title. So this is going to be my fractions or fraction operations. Okay, fraction operations. Then I can feel free to glue the back and push it all the way to the top. And I really want to go over these doors with my fingernail so that they lay flat and don't push themselves up. Then I'm going to trim out. You have nice, neat boxes. This would be much easier for you. Trim out my 4 inlays for my decimal operations. Then, this is so much easier. I can see that the symbol here is an add sign. So right next to the add sign, I'm going to put in what you do when you need to add. Okay, so basically I just want to fold that over. This is my short door, so I just want to give a little bit more space here. Then I can tuck my adding decimals information snug right up against that crease, and it just, look at that, it doesn't even quite cover on mine. I'm going to do the same thing with the multiplication door. It's a short door, but I have a short instruction note which tells me I'm going to ignore decimals, multiply, then slide the decimal back in. It's really easy to tell what I'm doing here, right? This tells me I'm adding right here. This tells me I'm multiplying. So that was kind of easy to see. I'm going to go ahead and trim this because that's going to bother me now that I see that on the video. Okay, now I've got all this space. You can see how this door is bigger because my instructions for subtracting and division is a little more in depth. So for subtract, it's short. Subtracting decimals easy. Line up the decimals and subtract. However, my instructions for dividing decimals is longer. It does not fit all on one side. I can trim it a little bit more. But you can see that it's not going to fit. It has to go behind the door a little bit. That's okay. Now, I'm going to crease these doors with my fingernails. They'll stay shut really well if I do that. And cut in between. And see how that fits all on one page? I'll push this up so you can see. Everything fits nicely. So smear in my 4 corners. I got a little too much glue there. I'm a bad example. Alright, and I'm going to label, this is my decimal operations. You know, we all need a little help remembering how do we add decimals. If I can't remember, I can look here and say, oh, I line up the decimals and then add. That's right. Do I line up the decimals when I multiply? I can't remember. No, ignore the decimals and multiply normally and then slide the decimal back in. Decimal operations are going to be much easier this year because I do believe we're going to use a calculator a lot. So that will take care of a lot of this. It won't help us as much on the fractions, but it will little. Okay, so that has gotten you quite far in your interactive notebook, all the way to page 7. Don't know if you can see that on the video, but you have your fractions and decimals, your number line with your multiplication chart. You have 3 pages of your tables of contents, and you have your interactive notebook agreement. So you are caught up for the beginnings and you're all ready to start your Unit 1. So I hope you did a good job, and I can't wait for us to get to know each other better. Be sure you have your journal checked with your teacher during the desk crit. Have a great day.